When you hear the word home, what comes to your mind? What do you think about? Do you think walls? Do you think doors? Do you think carpeting, chairs, a roof? Do you think condo, pool in the backyard, that kind of stuff? Or maybe when you heard the word home, you thought of things like family. You thought of your wife, your husband, your kids. You thought of your mom and dad, and the talks you had around the kitchen table. You thought of the meals and the conversation and the laughs. You thought of the tears and the hard days, as well as the good. You thought of the people, not the stuff. You thought of the love, not the walls. You thought of the dreams and support, not the bricks. That's really what home means to us, isn't it? It's not about some structure, it's about the people. It's about the family. It's about love. So hey, question time. Think about your church. Is this church your home? Is this church to you just bricks and walls and chairs and songs and sermons, or is it your home? Is this the place where you come every week like you would a grocery store, like the bank or the library, or any other place that's part of the errand list? Or is this church your home? For you, it's the place you come to worship Jesus Christ with others. For you, it's the place you're challenged to grow in the Lord. It's the place where you belong to a community of believers who know your name and who care for you. It's the place where you roll up your sleeves and do your part. It's the place you sacrifice and serve in to build up. It's the place you pour out love. It's your family. It's your home.
Next Sunday, we're going to have a special day. It's called All In. We've been talking about it for a while, but I was told a long time ago that we often as pastors, we tell people what we're going to do without a full explanation for why we're going to do it. And a lot of people don't know to ask the questions why until about a week after. And then they go, why did we do this? And by that, they missed it. By that time, it's too late. And so I've been wanting to just take a week to explain to you why we're going to have an all-in Sunday next week. When an idea comes to a pastor, they go over it over and over and over in their mind. Sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes it's in the evening, sometimes it's when you can't sleep and you just got something. And as far as I'm concerned, when I can't sleep, I got to get up and put it down in writing, and then I can leave it wherever that was and I can go back to sleep. Well, a couple months ago, I had this idea of all in, an all-in Sunday. I got the phrase because an author has put out a book this last year called All In. Now, I haven't read the book yet, but I love the title, All In. And I began writing down some ideas about All In. Now, when you work with a team, you then bring your idea to the team, and everybody around the table starts shaping it and doing things with it. Seldom at the end does it look like what you started, but that's okay, because that's what a team does, is collaborate on it. The bottom line is, by the time it gets out to the church, out to the people, we've been thinking about it a lot. But sometimes we forget that to you it's just, well, they're having an all-in Sunday. What's that? Well, it's just all in. I don't know what all in, but we're just having an all in. And if I can make it all in, great. If not, I'll be all out. And whoever, whatever, there we are. So I want to stop and just say, why all in? You have to understand that at the core, at the very center of me, I believe the church is a body. This is one of my core beliefs. This is not just a figure of speech. I think about the church in terms of a body. And personally, I like all my body together. I like it all working together. When I look at Scripture, and back in 1980, I remember there was one particular sermon that a guy preached from Ephesians chapter 4, 11 through 16, and it kind of gave me everything I've been doing since then. I mean, it was that impacting. I listened to it over and over again, and it kind of determined. At the beginning part of verse 11 or so, it talks about how Jesus made and gave to the church different people, different leaders. And it talks about apostles and prophets and evangelists and pastors and teachers. And the whole point of all of these was the equipping or the perfecting or the maturing of the saints. That was the whole point. And giving them what they needed to grow up. And then in verse 14, it began describing what a mature church looked like. And that's what you have before you beginning in verse 14. So then we will no longer be immature like children. We won't be tossed and blown about by every wind of new teaching. We will not be influenced when people try to trick us with lies so clever that they sound like the truth. Now, stop here just a second. Any pastor who believes that the people that come to the church are hearing all their messages, all their exposition of the Word of God completely from him is a fool. The bottom line is, I know that every one of you has at your fingertips many other great Bible teaching pastors from around the world. They're out there. I got up this morning and got going a little earlier, and I went down and I made myself a bowl of cereal, and I just flipped on the TV and ran across Charles Stanley. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. Charles Stanley, they've changed buildings. He's sitting there now on a chair, and he says, man, Charles is sitting down. Way to go, Charles. And I'm thinking, he's getting old. That's why I'm sitting down. It works. But he's giving good Bible teaching, and I'm thinking, man, you can hear Stanley, you can hear any number of people on any day of the week. So the idea that you're getting all truth from me, that's just ludicrous. And yet, not everything that's out there is good. And so we have to mature you so that you can listen and go, whoa, that's a little off. Or, no, that's good. I like that. And you look at someone else and say, I wish Russell was cool like them. Well, sorry. But you're watching. We have to mature you to understand, to gather there. Verse 15. Instead, we will speak the truth in love, growing in every way more and more like Russell. No? Okay. We will speak the truth in love, growing in every way more and more like Joel. No. More and more like who? Like Christ, who is the head of this body, the church. He makes the whole body fit together perfectly. As each part does its own special work, it helps the other parts grow so that the whole body is healthy and growing and full of love. Here's the goal. All the parts fitting together perfectly. And as each part does its own part, then the body, the whole body grows healthy, growing, and full of love. Healthy, growing, and full of love. That's the goal. When everyone is all in, this is what happens. When everybody is doing their part, this is what happens. When a church isn't growing or when a church isn't healthy, that simply means that something is happening in the equipping, in the receiving, in the doing, in the staying connected to the head. Something's wrong because a group of people, a church that is connected to Christ, that is being given the Word of God, they can grow in richly. They are taking the Word, they are doing what God has asked each of them to do, is going to be healthy, is going to be growing, and is going to be full of love. That's the whole point. So in this spirit, I'm wanting to see what would happen if just on one Sunday, everybody did it. I think it would be cool. Just if everybody did it, if everybody was all in. Let me give you 5 reasons why, and it built around the 5 things we want to accomplish that day. Number 1 is because of the power of presence. The power of presence. When I was a kid, we learned this memory verse in Psalm 122:1. Psalm 122:1. Everybody say it with me. Ready? I was glad when they said to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. Now let's just pretend we're all together, okay? Let's all do it together. Here we go. I was glad when they said to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. Is that what happened this morning as you were going to the car? We're going to church, let's go. Or was it, hurry up, come on, man, we got to go to church. I don't want to go to church. Why do I have to go to church today? You know what? There's some days I don't want to come to church. I'm being honest here. Usually, the weather's about 65 degrees. The skies are blue. No chance of rain. There's less than 5 miles an hour of wind. Everybody else is sleeping, so they haven't gotten on the roads yet. And I can just pedal my bike till my legs fall off. Those days, I really, really would like to be pedaling my bike. This morning I walked out. It was beautiful. Skies are blue. But it was 73. So I said, I can go to church today. 65 would have been tough. 73 I can walk away from. You're going, really, Russell? Let me ask you, what is it that gets you sidetracked? The presence, the power of presence. Write these things down. Our presence reflects our commitment to the Lord and to one another. Our commitment to the Lord and to one another. Just by showing up, you say something. Just by being here. Now, sometimes I understand we can't make it. What would you do if you came one Sunday and I wasn't here and you're going, where's Russell? And so you get on Facebook, and I've got this beautiful picture up in the north part of Broward County of me pedaling my bike going, what a beautiful day to be on a bike. What would you do? You're going, that sorry thing, I'm going to go hit him with my car. You would go, why? He's not very committed to this church. He's not very committed to us. I mean, we came, why isn't he here? Let me ask you. How do you think it feels when I go home from church and I've looked around and don't see you and I'm going, wow, Hollywood Beach is really nice today. And it's so cool being in somewhere other than where Russell was. What does it say to one another when we're not committed? Now I understand But our presence not only reflects our commitment, it reflects our priorities. It reflects our priorities. Now, I'm going to be honest. I come from a long history of people that church was a priority. My grandfather on my mother's side, there were like 50-something consecutive years that he did not miss a church on Sunday. You're going, you got to be kidding. I've never met one of those heathens. They're getting harder and harder to find, I might add. But I mean, this was important. When he started getting older, he sold his house in one part of town, literally moved across the street from his church. And the whole point was, if I ever can't walk, I can build a ramp here and I can roll down all the way into church. And he meant it. It was honest to goodness truth. That was his thinking. And he saw the importance. Now, mind you, he always fell asleep during church. I don't know why, but he was going to be there, by golly. But it was there. It reflected his priorities, and you never had to wonder what Granddad Ward's priority was as far as church goes. That was very high on his priority list, and it reflects our priorities. Our presence teaches others, and our presence encourages others. And the interesting part, it's not just for those that are here. It's a testimony, not only to those around us, but even to those who do not go to church. It teaches them. It encourages them. Our presence is a testimony to them. Your neighbors. Have you ever had one of those Sundays when we have church on Friday and not on Sunday, and you're outside or something and your neighbors see you and they go, "What are you doing here?" They know something's wrong because you're not usually around. That's the day they usually walk their dog through your yard, and the day you're home and caught them. So they want to know. By the time I get up to come to church on Sunday morning, it's really early. So I don't see my neighbors, but I do see a lot of them when I get home. And it's amazing how many of them will say something, sometimes come over and talk to me. The other day I was coming home from church, and one of them said, "Hey, remember that Hope night we went to at your house, you know, the Billy Graham thing?" "Yeah, I remember. I saw him on TV the other day, and I watched that again. That same video, it was on TV." I go, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, I watched that. It's like, I want brownie points with you." And I'm going, "Good. This is great." Hit the button one more time, please. It's a testimony. All of these things, just our presence. How many times have you heard people make the statement, the first thing to make a difference is to show up? Just show up. Being a part. Now I want you to go through these questions, and I want you to ask yourself this week, and when you're in your small group, I want you to go through these questions. And among them, just ask yourself, what does it take for you to miss church? Some might go, "Well, rain, I'm just afraid if I go out, I'm going to get caught in something, it messes up my hairdo and all this other stuff." And whatever excuse you find, I'm going to ask you this very simple question. Do you do the same thing for work? Well, no. Man, if I don't show up for work, I don't get paid. Oh, so we got to pay you to be good. Is that the point? No, see, it's priorities. And there is a very special power just in presence. Second thing, the power of preparation. The power of preparation. Psalm 100. Would you read it with me? Psalm 100. Everybody look up here together. Ready? Shout with joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him singing with joy. Acknowledge that the Lord is God. He made us and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving. Go into his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. For the Lord is good. His unfailing love continues forever, and his faithfulness continues to each generation. Wow. It talks about coming before the Lord. It talks about worshiping him, acknowledging him, entering his gates with thanksgiving. Now, how does that sound compared to the way most of us come to church? Is there any preparation at all? Gathering with the church should never become or be just a habit. I'm not saying it shouldn't be a habit. It's a very good habit, but it shouldn't just be a habit. In other words, well, I'm here. I made it. Don't complain. Remember the power of presence. I'm here. But oftentimes, preparation determines the benefits we receive from something. Preparation. How many young girls do you know who basically have their wedding planned? They're just missing one little issue: the dude. Other than that, they've got it all worked out. They can tell you what color he's going to wear, and heaven forbid if he has another idea. I mean, they have checked it through all them bride magazines. They've been through it. They've got years. Some of those bride magazines they've had around so long, these are called vintage bride magazines now. But they have been planning all along. Why? Because they truly believe that the more preparation, the better it's going to be. I'll never forget the girl who came into my office, and her fiance, and she says, "I want to have the perfect wedding." And I thought, oh crud, don't do that. That was jinx right there. Couldn't have the wedding here. We had to rent another facility, and guess what? The air conditioning broke in June. Oh yeah. The cake melted and went sideways. Oh, that was bad. The brother said, "Don't spend money on a videographer. I'll take care of it." I mean, he was obnoxiously everywhere with the freaking camera when they were really big. The problem was he forgot to put tape in it. Oh, it was horrible. I felt so bad for them. She wanted this perfect wedding, all this preparation, and it went bad fast. But let me tell you something. Preparation often does determine the benefits. Often does. What are the physical preparation you make for church? So what do you mean physical? I got here. What else you want? Sometimes we get to church and we're rested, we're ready, and other time we're just here. And the chairs at IBB are so comfortable. I like the way I can just kind of sink into them. And they're wider than they were in the little building. Remember, the little building, they were narrow. Now we're prepared for big butt Americans. We are ready. We can relax here. My mattress at home isn't as good as the chairs at IBB. I come to IBB to relax. Now sometimes we got to plan. Sometimes we got to think about the invitations we accept the night before, because we have to be prepared physically. Not only physical, but there's mental. Are we engaged or distracted? Engaged with what's going on? Are we thinking about where, it doesn't so much happen now, but in football season, some of you, it becomes very obvious. Man, the kickoff is pretty quick. I hope he'll shut up. Who's preaching today? Oh, gosh, no, I can't make the game. Yeah. We have to be prepared mentally, spiritually. There's a difference if we're walking in the light and we come to church, and we're walking in darkness and we come to church. We walk in with a guilt trip. Anything anybody says, we're already offended. Why? Because we're walking and we know we're wrong, as opposed to walking in the light, prepared, ready. There's an emotional preparation for the right motives, for the wrong motives. Why do you go to church? Well, it's a great networking spot. Man, I can get all kind of contact. Really? If that's the reason you're coming, may your business fail. Big time. If we're coming just for something other than coming to his presence with thanksgiving in our heart to worship him and learn from him, if we're coming for other things, then what are we doing? Now, I know I'm going to offend someone here. I'm sure I already did it the first hour, so I'll just let you know right now, if you're offended by this, sorry, okay? Here we go. Punctuality reflects the value we place on events and the others who are attending. That's the bottom line. And I'm not just talking church. If you think that the idea of fun is being 2 hours fashionably late to your own shower, you're wrong. If being fashionably late to what that says is this event is not important enough for me to work and come at it early. It's not important enough for me to do whatever needs to be done so that I can get here and be engaged and be a part. And those people that are there, well, that's their problem. It's amazing how many times I'll be here and either Marcel or I will be on the last point, and now for the last point, and somebody walks in right at that moment on the last point. And I'm going, really? Really? And at the end, everybody turns on, hi, I'm in church today. I'm so glad you got to see me. And I'm thinking, wow. When the door opens on the last point, all of you are going to turn around today. I know you. But anyway, it's amazing. Let me ask you something. If you got an invitation, said the President of the United States and the President of your favorite country, pick one, are having a reception together down at Coral Gables at the Biltmore at a certain time. But if you want to be a part of it, I need you there 30 minutes to an hour early so that you can get through all the security. Would you go and would you be on time? May I say, I don't care what your politics is, you would probably show up and you would probably come prepared and on time. It's value. It's all about value. What value you place on where you're going and the people that are going to be there. Preparation. I'll give you the third one. The power of faith, obedience, and generosity. The power of faith, obedience, and generosity. Would you read Proverbs chapter 3, verse 9 and 10 with me? Proverbs 3:9. Honor the Lord with your wealth and the first fruits from all your crops. Then your barns will be full and your wine barrels will overflow with new wine. Pay attention to this video that we found this last week.
Thanks.
Dankeschön.
ありがとう。
Oh, I couldn't. Well, maybe just a bite.
Oh yeah! All right!
Don't forget the interest.
Dude, he brought the pie.
Amazing. Write this down. Giving is a key element of our worship. You know, you never read in the Bible where people came before God without bringing something. It just didn't happen. When you came before God, when you came to worship, you came and you brought something. Our giving is a clear statement of where we put our faith. Do we put our faith in God or do we put our faith in our stuff? I don't know how many times I've had someone talk to me and we'll be talking about giving and particularly about our tithe, which is the 10%. And someone will say, but Russell, I don't have enough with what I have now to pay all my commitments and bills and stuff. How am I going to have enough if I take the first 10% and give it to God? I don't know how it happens. But I know that God says, if you'll be faithful in this, I will open the windows of heaven and take care of things. I don't understand how it works. Mathematically, it shouldn't work. But I guarantee you, everyone that has come to the Lord and said, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do it because you said to try you, to put you to the test. Everyone that I've ever talked to that has truly put God to the test, when it was all said and done, they go, yeah, he did. I remember one pastor got up before his church and he told everyone, if you will try this for 3 months, if during those 3 months you lose your job or something catastrophic happens, you come back and we'll give you all your tithe back. And he said, no one has ever come to us. Why? Because God said, try me. Write this down. Our tithe is a reflection of our obedience to God and God's ways. It's not a matter of can we get more money out of you. Let me trust me in this. I haven't figured out the way of getting more money out of you. That's not it. It's simply a worship of God and believing, having faith in Him, obeying Him, and being generous. And there's great power in those three things. Fourth, the power of a commission. A commission. Matthew chapter 28, verses 19 and 20. Read it with me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And remember, I am with you always to the end of the age. This is what Jesus said, the last thing. Jesus gave us our marching orders, and the orders were, go. Go everywhere. Cover the entire globe. Everybody needs to know what I have done for them and want to do for them. Everyone needs to know me. I need you to go. I need you to tell them. I need you to make followers of me. I need you to baptize them in obedience to me. I need you to go and teach them how to obey. All the things that I've taught you, that's what we're supposed to do. And any church that does not follow this, does not take this serious, really, what are we doing? It is important. Now, Paul spelled out the challenges we would face in carrying out these orders. And in Romans chapter 10, verses 13 forward, it said, "For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. But how can they call on Him to save them unless they believe in Him? And how can they believe in Him if they have never heard about Him? And how can they hear about Him unless someone tells them? And how will anyone go and tell them without being sent?" So here's the progression. It begins with this. To be saved, they must call on the Lord. You can't do it any other way. You can't be saved. Someone called me the other day and said, "I want to know something. If I commit suicide, can I go to heaven or not?" And I said to them, whether you go to heaven or not has nothing to do with whether you commit suicide. Whether you go to heaven or not has to do with what you do with Jesus. That's it. They cannot be saved unless they call on the name of the Lord. Now, you'll hear people say, well, at the end of life, all the roads will lead to the same place, and God's going to love the world so much that at the end, He's just going to let everybody in. The doors of heaven will be open all along, and you just come on in regardless. That sounds really good. It's just wrong. That's not the way it works. To be saved, they must call on the Lord. Now, to call on the name of the Lord, obviously they must believe in Him. To call, they must believe. To believe, somewhat, they must first hear about Him. That's why it's so important that we go to every corner of the world to tell people about Jesus, because if they don't hear about Him, they cannot believe in Him. If they do not believe in Him, they cannot call on Him. If they don't call on Him, they cannot be saved. That's why we must go. Now, for them to hear, someone has to be willing to tell them. Whether it's your neighbor, whether it's your coworker, whether it's your family member, or whether it's someone the next county up, or the next state up, or the next country over, or whether it's the farthest corner from where you are. Someone so completely different from you that you will probably never, ever personally see them, they must have someone that's willing to tell them. And if someone is going to tell them, if someone is going to get there, then someone has to be sent for them to go. Karina is now serving with a missionary who ministers in Algeria. For that to happen, Karina had to leave her job here. We all had to pitch in and help personally or as a church, and other churches and other individuals, but the main part is from this church to make it possible for her to move over there, to live over there. She lives in Birmingham, England, works with this family who goes in and out, and she travels in and out of Algeria, in and out of Tunisia, working there. For her to be able to do that, we had to send her to be a part. But the beauty of it is, guess what? All of us that have a part in that have a part in every soul that is saved in Algeria through the ministry of these people and who they're reaching. That's an amazing thing. One of the neat parts about our church is the number of people that we have in our church that are here because we sent a missionary to their country, and because of that missionary, they were saved, and now God moved them, and they're here in the States, and we get the double benefit from it. But so many more are out there. Every week, hundreds and thousands more people are in church because we gave, we sent, we made it possible for someone to minister. That's why they are there. And it's just a wonderful thing. Someday we're going to get to heaven, and we're going to be able to actually see what it has done. Now we just get little glimpses. We get a message here, an update here from our missionary, and here and there, and occasionally they come by and visit. But someday we'll actually get to see the full impact. Over the course of the life of this church, we've now given over $1.2 to $1.3 million outside of here to missions. That's hundreds of thousands of people that will be in heaven because people here took serious the power of the commission that Jesus gave us. Write this down. You hear me say it all the time, but it's still true. The water of life is free, but the plumbing is expensive. The plumbing is expensive. I talk to Ryan weekly, and we talk about different things, and I say, hey, son, how's it going? Well, you know, it's kind of tight. I said, son, I need to know, is your dad? Number one, I pull that card out. But then when I need to, I pull out the double card. And as your sending pastor, man, when I pull both of those cards out, the boy better talk. As your dad and as your sending pastor, how are you doing? He said, Dad, we're about $1,000 a month short. I said, okay. I wish I had the 1,000. There wouldn't be any question. Let me tell you something. They're just one. If I surveyed every one of our missionaries and asked them honestly, what are you short? Most of our missionaries are short. They don't have more. They have less. And yet God supplies. And God does. And God works. But I want you to know, the water of life is free, but the plumbing is expensive. Write this down. God will provide if we are willing to give. I love to hear the story of people, and it's happened in this church, and it's happened in others, who will simply go to the Lord and say, Lord, I don't have it to give, but if you will give it to me, I will give it. You know what that is? That's willingness. If you will give me this and make it very specifically so that you will be able to spot it when it happens. And when people have done that, God says, okay, I can trust this one. Watch me do this. And they become a channel through which God can do some amazing things. Some of the best givers of our church are people who you would never, ever imagine who they were. And I am not going to tell you. I just love watching God take someone who just says, I'm willing. So the question is simply, are you willing? It's not how much, it's are you willing? And then let God do that. Finally, the power of encouragement. The power of encouragement. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 and 25. Read it with me all together. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. Let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near. Let me help you with church. We should gather with the church to give more than to receive. To give more than you receive. If you come to church with the consumer mentality, okay, let's see how good they do today. I'll tell you what, we will never be able to live up to what you want. There are many churches who are better at many different areas than we are. I guarantee that. But that's not the point. When you come to church and you say, my reason for coming to church is how can God use me to make a difference in the life of someone else there? How can I make a difference? We were told years ago, no one can keep you from being a success if your goal is to be a servant. It's amazing to me how many times I talk to people about why they come or don't come to church, or when they are giving me their, we're going to another church because whatever. It's amazing to me how many times it's the ones that are sitting there expecting everybody to funnel things their way that don't get much out of church. When the person sitting next to them is one who are investing in others, and they're getting a whole lot out of the same situation. See, it's do we come to receive or do we come to give? If you come to church and your day is determined by how many people said hi to you, you're going to be disappointed. It's just going to happen. You know, so-and-so, they didn't say hi to me today. I have people that say all the time, you know, I went to church and Russell didn't say hi to me. If that's what will make your day, I will make a little app, put it on your phone. You get up in the morning, you hit it, go, hi, how are you? And then you're going, I've had a wonderful day. Is that really the big deal? How about how many people did I meet today? How many new people did I get to pour into their life? How many people did I greet today? How many people did I build up today? How did God use me to talk into their life, to help them leave church a little lighter than what they came in? People who are hurting, people with burdens. How was I able to help them walk out of here and go, hey, at least I can share this with someone else? How about someone who's hurting? They need to be comforted. Who did you comfort today? Who did you help along the way? Who did you pray with when you came to church? I love it at the end of church when I see people together talking, I love that. Till about 1:30, then get out of here. Those of you who are just sucking up the air, just keep moving it outside. But I love it. But you know what? I love it more when it's not the same 5 or 6 people that always say hi to each other. I like it better when people get to meet other people. There's people on this side of church that have no clue who these people are over here. And you don't know who those people are. Those people are over there because they want to get the heck out fast. That's why they're there. He's going, he told my secret, man. That's not fair. Okay? And the people here in the middle, they just know the back of somebody's head. But see, and the people back there, they just want the food. Oh, yeah. Here's what I'm saying is, we got to mix. We got to meet somebody new. What if every week you came, you had a goal of meeting one new person a week? One new person. Not the same ones. At the beginning of service, when we're singing and we greet one another, you know, we shake hands. Some of you are going, I've never seen them do that. You got to get here early for this stuff, okay? But when we're doing that song, it's amazing to me how many people shake hands with their wife. Come on, guys. You should have taken care of that before you got here. You know, it's all the people in your small group, and that is a wonderful thing. But how about meeting someone new to include them in your small group? See, that's more important. There's people here every week that come in that life has not been kind to them. And you may be just the one that God wants to use to help them. That's what church is all about. Come to give, not just to receive. But you know, to do this, you got to be present and you got to be prepared. Because if you just come and this is, I got to be here from here to here, and I'm here and I'm gone, you will not do these things. You'll just clock in on the way out, clock in, that's it. I came to church. Check. But that's not what it's all about. Why are we doing all in? Because of the power of unity. The power of unity. When everybody in church does everything we're supposed to do, and we all do it on the same week, it's amazing. We have what I like to call sometime a rotating 25%. That means that on any given Sunday, 25% of the crowd doesn't show up. Our attendance may be averaging around 410 or something like that. But if everybody showed up, we would have closer to 450 to 475. If everybody were all in. If everybody were here and here early and here for the countdown, what countdown? I know you got to be here early to see the countdown. If you're here for the countdown and on the first song, Willie didn't have to say, anybody out there? No, we're all here. We're ready. We're ready to sing that very first song. We're in it from the beginning. When it comes time to giving, we're in. We know what we're doing. We came prepared. Church is over. We've already encouraged people 10, 15 minutes before church started. But after it's over, we spend some time. We're encouraging one another. I guarantee you, if that was what happened, you would leave here saying, I am really glad that I went to church today. And it won't have a thing to do with what I say up here. It will have everything to do with what we as a body all fit together, all doing the part that they're supposed to do together, growing, maturing, healthy, with love throughout. Would you bow your heads and close your eyes for just a minute?